Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar, Avon Success Story, Growing D2C Online. We'll get started in just a moment, but before that, just a general bit of housekeeping. The webinar will be recorded and sent to you in a follow-up email. We'll use the last 15 minutes to answer any questions you may have, so please use the chat box to ask these during the webinar. Some questions have already been submitted through the registration form, and we'll try and answer as many questions as possible. If we don't get through all of them, we'll be sure to follow up afterwards, and feel free to use the chat box, of course, to share your thoughts and insights with the group during the call. So I'll start off by introducing myself. My name is Phoebe Bainsfair, and I'm a Merchant Success Manager here at Shopify. I've been at Shopify for over a year and a half, and in that time, I've been working closely with Avon and other high-growth merchants to help them grow their business and be successful on Shopify Plus. So in 2021, Avon successfully migrated onto Shopify with the help of the agency Velstar to expand their reach through D2C while still providing a personalized service to their customers. Today, we'll be talking about their migration journey with Velstar and how they grew their D2C business with Shopify and other technology partners. Today's webinar is also in partnership with Cleaver and Yotpo, who Avon have been working closely with. So I'm joined today for our panel discussion by Phil Chamberlain, Digital Product Owner at Avon, and Gavin Parkinson, Client Service Director at Velstar. So Phil, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Yes, of course. So let's do a little bit about Avon first for anyone who doesn't know Avon. I think probably most of you do. It's a global brand. It's been around for 135 years. It's got a fairly unique in the marketplace now business model. It didn't used to be so unique, but our relationship selling model, getting products into customers' hands through the extensive network of reps that we have across this country, across the globe, in fact, that's the model that we've built the brand on. So it's worth bearing in mind as we continue through the webinar. Most people know the brand, but you may not necessarily be a customer at the moment. And a lot of what we needed to do with our digital transformation was attract people who knew the brand, wanted to buy cosmetics, obviously, but weren't familiar with or didn't think they had access to the rep model. So that will be a feature of the conversation. I've been with Avon for nearly 2 years now. I joined just towards the end of the project to launch Velstar. So I've got plenty of knowledge about the transformation journey, and I'll be speaking about that as we go along.
Nice, thanks, Phil. And Gav?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Gavin, Client Services Director at Velstar. So we're a Shopify Plus agency based in Liverpool. We're extremely proud to have been Avon's Shopify development partner for the last few years. Velstar has recently acquired a marketing agency called WeInfluence. So that's allowed us to strengthen our digital marketing department. So now we're not just able to support on development, but also make sure that Shopify websites that we build are a platform for continued e-commerce success and growth with services like SEO, content marketing, email, social media, advertising too. So I've worked in the digital world for over 20 years. I've supported clients in the public, private and third sectors, and I've done a variety of development and marketing roles. However, my career started in 1994, temping on the night cream line in the old Avon factory in Northampton, which is my hometown. So thanks Phil and Avon for paying for my ticket to the Reading Festival that year.
94. Just trying to think who headlined there. I was
probably old. I am too.
Thanks both for those introductions. So to kick off, Phil, it'd be really great to understand the challenges that Avon encountered on your legacy platform. What platform were you on, and how did you decide a migration was key for D2C?
Yeah, so I suppose one of the things you need to know about Avon is most of our business is through reps direct to customers, and those customers don't necessarily have a digital experience, or didn't up until relatively recently. So, I mean, the first thing that we did in the digital space was create a platform where the customers who already had a relationship with the reps could get hold of products without necessarily having to see the rep, on the day. So that's obviously a good thing for both reps and customers. They can get hold of products and sell products more quickly without necessarily having to get in the car and go and see them. So the platform that we created in-house was mainly to support that journey for the customer and that business model for the reps. So a customer who already has a relationship with their rep, they don't need to see them on every occasion if they just want a top up of some kind of commodity products that they already know and use happily, but they just need a top up in between rep visits. They can go onto the website that we created in-house. So it's the answer to what platform were we on. It was an in-house platform that we developed ourselves, and specifically for the purpose of serving our rather unique business model in that respect. So that was the platform that we were on. We recognised already that we needed to be able to reach customers who weren't currently part of the Avon experience, who didn't have a rep, didn't necessarily understand how they would go about getting a rep, but might want the products, might want to consider the brand. That was a market that was growing as e-commerce grows generally, big opportunity that we were aware of, and we had a plan for a wider transformation across the globe, because we are a global business, and we need to provide a joined up experience for our customers, and obviously the economies of scale of having a global business and a single platform. So we were already on that journey. We'd already started to do our UX journey mapping and establishing what it was we wanted to offer to customers. But the big drive, we'll talk about this in a minute, was obviously lockdown and what that did to e-commerce in terms of driving that channel. That was obviously a big deal for us and everybody else, but prompted an earlier move for the UK market, because we were already further along the e-commerce journey as a marketplace. And it's also our biggest market in Western Europe, which is the area that I'm involved in. And we needed a solution faster than the one that we were prepping in-house.
Nice. And how did you feel that your legacy platform was impeding your growth and any other targets that the business had set?
Well, it's certainly the case that when you have an in-house platform, it's harder to move quickly with the times. So, I mean, the advantage is obviously it's yours. You can do what you choose to do with it. But the flip side is the digital space moves so quickly that what you want to do with it and what customers want you to do with it might be two different things. And, when you only have one platform, everything you do for that platform, you do once, and only you benefit from it at that moment in time. Whereas, a commercially available platform is constantly benefiting from all of the clients who use it and all of the feedback and all of the priorities that are constantly being fed into the roadmap. So an in-house platform is always going to, offer challenges with moving quickly and, staying abreast of all the latest developments in the marketplace and customer expectations. Therefore, so it's expensive to run your own platform, and increasingly so as the commercially available platforms mature and offer better and better pricing. So, for those two reasons, an in-house platform wasn't going to serve us forever. I mean, when you consider how old the brand is and how we've grown up, through the digital revolution, it's no surprise that we will have committed to certain pieces of architecture, not knowing what is ahead of us, because nobody has a crystal ball. And as digital continues to grow, so the decisions that you made for good reason a year or 2, 3 years ago don't look quite so, don't look like quite the correct decision with hindsight. And that's true of everything. But when it's your own platform, you're committed, and that's one of the things that we needed to break with a digital transformation.
Definitely, I think things move incredibly quickly in the e-com world, and like you said, Shopify is constantly investing in the platform, so you're able to benefit from that as a brand. So I was going to ask you, I think you touched on it a bit earlier, what motivated the change for you in 2021? You mentioned lockdown. Was there anything else that helped you motivate this change?
Well, that was the final driver to launch a Shopify solution, which we've only done in the UK. It's worth pointing out to the people on the call that we're still progressing, exploring a global solution. But the UK just needed to move quicker. The opportunity was too big. The impact of COVID was too great. We had to do something in the UK market to make the most of the new shopping habits. And it also serves as a kind of trial run. It's a testing ground to some extent, and we're constantly feeding back learnings into the bigger business project for the global platform.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that, Phil. So, of course, a company like Avon will have a lot of internal stakeholders, and I'm sure this will be true of many of the other brands tuning in. I'd be interested to know how did you get everybody on side for the move to Shopify? Was there an appetite for change across the business, or was there a need to spurn on change?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned before, the global transformation was already planned. So, it wasn't like we were coming in and teaching everybody, about e-commerce for the first time. And we already did run an e-commerce solution for customers who bought via their reps. But that platform, it was actually possible to buy without already having a rep. And we can see internally how those journeys work, and that there is some appetite for that. So, as for internal stakeholders, the numbers speak for themselves. You can't open a newspaper, even if you're not involved in retail or e-commerce, and know that e-commerce is a growing channel and is increasingly, the way that customers want to buy things. So, I suppose you're pushing at an open door to some extent, but having said that, it is still true that a very large part of our business doesn't have a digital touch. And of course, although we're all committed and evangelizing for digital, everybody has to respect the fact that we have a core business that we mustn't lose sight of. And there's no danger of that happening. But sales is the final answer to all these things. If the sales are growing through the channel and you're driving more sales through initiatives, then these things do speak for themselves, and everybody knows that it's the future. And we're working on an omni-channel basis, so it's not like we have to convince the business that the website is the future. The whole business knows that multiple digital touch points is where we need to be, and website and e-commerce is just one of those.
Yeah, definitely. So you obviously chose Shopify as the right platform to help you achieve these D2C goals. Yeah. What was it about Shopify that became the clear winner when you were evaluating other platforms?
Yeah, so a big one is the off-the-shelf nature of it, the fact that it's already constructed and optimized specifically for retail. And the number of products in our portfolio was aligned. The the nature of the customer journey was already aligned, and the fact that we could sort of credibly build a roadmap and a target to launch in very quick time, due to the pressures of COVID. So, and the fact that we knew that we needed to do a global transformation coming down the track. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel or create everything from scratch. We'd only be creating the same problems that we already had with our legacy platform if we were to do that. So the fact that it's modular, you can practically any e-commerce function that you can think of, there's an app for it, you can plug it in, you can launch it in pretty rapid time. So being able to launch the platform quickly was a big one. Being able to develop it quickly through the app model was a big driver. And on top of the off-the-shelfness of it, it is still configurable, and you can develop the front end, and that was important to us as well. So between those three things, it was a pretty clear winner.
Great. And Gav, you obviously, Velstar helped Avon do the migration onto Shopify. It'd be great to sort of hear how you guided Avon onto Shopify.
Yeah, so our relationship started when Shopify actually introduced us to Avon and their unique challenges. During our first conversations with Phil's previous colleagues, got to know the team and got a good feel for their brief. They, as Phil's kind of explained, they needed a platform that would allow them to go to market as quickly as possible. And Shopify makes that really easy, to be honest. Even on the Plus platform, which is much more configurable than the kind of day-to-day version, it's a really quick and simple job to go live, relatively speaking. And then Avon also wanted great conversion rates from day one. Who doesn't? And Shopify, again, is an ideal platform for that. I think in a nutshell, Shopify doesn't try to be all things to all people like some platforms out there. It just focuses on doing e-commerce really, really well. The other thing Avon wanted was, as Phil said as well, flexibility to expand their offering once the site went live. So again, Shopify is a great choice there because, when I'm introducing clients to the world of Shopify, I think I kind of liken it to your mobile phone app. If you've got a problem, you go onto the App Store, you find an app that solves that problem, and hey presto, you're kind of in a completely different place. So the next step in our relationship was what we call a discovery session. And for us, it's the most important part of any project we do with a client. It's something we charge for so that it allows us to really deep dive into a customer's needs and requirements, helping us identifying the problems they're trying to solve at a real granular level. And, that can be the likes of strange and exotic existing systems running on their current website, or taking a good dive into their SEO for their existing site and ensuring that those rankings are along for the ride and don't disappear when a new site goes live. And ultimately, we capture all of that information in a really detailed project spec, which forms essentially a contract of work with our clients, who we sign up to it and they sign up to it. And most importantly, with that contract and the whole discovery process, we can really accurately cost out a project so that there's no sort of scary hidden extras at the end of that process, or at least we guarantee as much as possible. You can never be 100% sure of that. And probably most important for Phil's colleagues at the time was we could tell them pretty much down to the week that we'd launch the site, because we had a really strong launch plan. So yeah, that's it from my perspective. I don't know if there's anything else, Phil, you wanted to kind of add to that process.
I mean, as for some of what you talk about, the process is ongoing anyway. I mean, the idea of that close relationship is a key thing, which we'll get onto. Might even be the next question. I don't know, Phoebe.
Could be, yeah.
Yes, it is. I was going to ask Phil, what drew Avon to Velstar? Like, what was it that made you choose this agency to help you migrate over?
Yeah, of course. So the selection process, if you like, included the partners that you recommended to us, Phoebe. Obviously, we did our own word of mouth, colleagues outside of the business, LinkedIn, looking around, who are the experts in Shopify, Dev. Although we talk about the platform being off the shelf, it still has to integrate with our internal infrastructure, and that's super important to us as well. So we needed an agency that had specialist back end as well as specialist front end, and we looked at a few, and it was pretty easy to select Velstar above the rest of the competition that came forward, and that we looked at, because I mean there's lots of agencies out there offering, I suppose, smaller enterprises. Avon is obviously it's a global brand, it's a big player, but we're using a platform where there are lots of people offering services for much smaller players, for startups and lesser known brands. But we needed someone who could sort of match us for professionalism, if you like. There's quite a lot of hoops you need to jump through to become a partner with a corporate brand like Avon. Velstar were professional enough to be able to, negotiate that and not be frustrated by that onboarding process, and they got the expertise to do the big integrations in the background, and a brilliant front end team as well. So it wasn't that hard for us to say, yeah, Velstar, they're the ones. And of course, the relationship that we have now is an output of the reasons that we chose them in the first place. So having that very personal interaction and relationship is like an extension of your own team without any of the distractions that that your colleagues might have internally, because everybody's working on everything at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. I think relationship is super key when you're choosing an agency, and also maintaining that, which is clearly what you've done. So it's great to hear.
And very kind, Phil, much appreciated. I think, I suppose, quickly from our point of view as well, the fact that we dedicated to kind of Shopify development was a big advantage for us as well. At the time, I think it was fair to say Velstar was significantly smaller than it is right now. So, Avon definitely gave us a step up the ladder, but also Shopify had that kind of flexibility that, we could punch above our weight and go for, a big organization and try and partner with them, as much as a myriad of smaller and medium-sized businesses we work with. Shopify's got the flexibility to be able to give us that kind of leverage to build for scale for all sorts of businesses. So yeah, works from our point of view too.
Nice. So Phil, you mentioned earlier utilizing kind of Shopify partners and other integrations, and needless to say, choosing the right tech stack is very important when you're building your site. It'd be good to know how you leveraged other technology partners to help create a seamless customer experience for the Avon customer.
Yeah. So obviously we talk about Shopify being a fairly complete solution, but then you've got all these apps that you can plug in, some of which are offering things that aren't necessarily native to Shopify, but many of which are offering things which are an enhancement on. So search would be one example of that. Shopify has its own search functionality, but we chose Clevu back in at the time because they were experts in search. And we're migrating to a new platform. It's a bit of a new journey. Yes, we did do D2C, but not to the extent that we knew we needed to. So we needed experts in each corner of the user experience, if you like, that we could work with and that could kind of own it and carry it forward for us, because otherwise we would be spreading ourselves too thin internally, trying to be all things to all men, trying to be experts in everything and learning everything at the same time. So someone like Clevu, they offer very close account management and quarterly reviews and constant review of the success and advice on how to continually configure the tool. All those things were important to us, and that's true of Yotpo as well. For reviews, we need experts to cover off their corner whilst we continue with the core business of trading and skill up in some of those areas, and eventually make a decision necessarily whether to try and take that expertise in house or not, or continue with the experts in the field.
Yeah, definitely. And there are quite a few competitors in the search sort of area. Why specifically Clevu? What was it about them that you chose over the competitors?
Yeah, they were pretty early in the AI space. So the engines that drive the search results were pretty advanced at the time. There's more players doing AI now, of course, but that combined with, like I said, the sort of close relationship again, and them covering it off so that we can think about other things was super important.
Nice. And Gav, maybe it'd be good to hear from you why bringing a third-party search tool early on in a migration is important. Is there anything that you can share there for those listening?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's crucial, isn't it? That, I mean, we all depend on search engines to get us where we need to go before we arrive on websites, and it's equally as important these days, and perhaps more important once you've arrived on a site, that you've got that kind of experience that just gives you a seamless journey all the way to checkout. So there's just beautiful things in internal search these days that allow you to make it really easy for clients to see relevant promotions when they're searching, choose the things that others have been buying recently, and just kind of give them the encouragement and reinforce their decision to make a purchase as they kind of go through the funnel for you.
Nice, thank you. So as well as Clevu, you're also using Yotpo for your customer reviews online. Phil, why are reviews specifically important for Avon and your customer?
Yeah, massively important for Avon, especially in the D2C space. Obviously, when you've got a rep relationship, it's a one-to-one human relationship where you can demonstrate products, where you talk to an expert and they can answer all of your questions. It's an assisted sale, but in the web space, it's obviously you don't have any of that, because we're finding, because we're searchable by brand, and because we're driving our own organic traffic and our own paid traffic. Lots of the people who visit our D2C site, our Shopify sites, are not necessarily bought into the brand yet. And we can tell them everything we choose to about the product on the PDP, but there's nothing quite like a recommendation and a review. It's a super important part of the evaluation process for the customer. So we absolutely have to have reviews. Again, around the fact that the brand is known, but the products are not necessarily. Lots of our people are still considering purchase, but haven't yet bought anything when they come to the site. So we have to give them some confidence that, despite the great value that we offer, it's also a quality product, and you can see that in the reviews.
Nice. And I suppose also for SEO as well, it's super important to have reviews too.
Yeah, of course. If your reviews are linked through to your Google searches, then that gives you a whole new sort of richness of text and search terms and indexing to promote you up the Google rankings.
Nice. So why Yotpo? Why did you go with Yotpo?
I mean, it's a different story to the Velstar one around specialism, because of Yotpo is supported by multiple platforms. We were already using them for our global platform, and it's important that your reviews are consistent and joined up. So, we weren't about to create a whole new ecosystem of reviews on one channel when, it is visible to customers alongside the rep channel, because the rep channel isn't closed. To customers, they might well end up shopping on one or the other for the time being until we've completed our full transformation and we've got that more joined up. So meanwhile, if the review is super important, then a conflicting review is the last thing that you want. Yeah, and although customers themselves might have different opinions on the products and the service, we couldn't be in a position where the overall impression of reviews was different through one channel to another. If what we're asking the customer to review is the product, we want the general theme and to be the same, and we want some of those reviews to be recognised and for it not to look like two stories.
Of course, yeah. Well, thanks so much for that. I think we're just running out of the webinar time before we go into the questions. I suppose just closing off our sort of discussion, it'd be great to hear from both of you what your thoughts are on some trends in the D2C e-commerce world. Phil, would you like to go first? Or?
I suppose the big trend that everybody talks about is AI, of course, and there's lots of movement in that space. Lots of people offering products. It's not as brand new as everybody or the media would have you believe. Anybody involved in digital commerce would know that these technologies have been around for quite a while. Text mining and price optimization and the like all use machine learning and AI. So, I mean, those things are going to carry on. We expect search algorithms to improve dramatically. I don't want to go into too much detail about what Avon have planned, but I don't expect our models to be wiped out by AI in the alarmist fashion that the media would have you believe. At the end of the day, people still want to shop. They need to know about their products up front, and all of those immutable laws of marketing and e-commerce will continue, and we'll continue to work with partners that we have great relationships with. So lots to be excited about, but I'm not worried.
Good. And Gab?
So, I mean, I really believe, especially right now when everyone's, not much cash in their pockets, and that's businesses and consumers alike. I think customer retention and customer loyalty have got to be right up there. It's a kind of priority one. If not for the fact that, advertising costs are soaring year on year. I'm constantly seeing Google CPCs doubling for particular client products, and it doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. You've got saturated social media markets too, where it's increasingly challenging to get your product in front of the right audience and get them to engage. So once you've got that customer and they've bought into who you are and what you do, and how you do it, I think it's incredibly important to get their loyalty, to get them to sign up for email campaigns to get them on loyalty programs and kind of keep that relationship going with the client, it's equally as challenging as acquiring them in the first place. But the likes of allowing engagement with your brand with UGC, engaging in a positive way with people's reviews and feedback to your business to help you genuinely grow your business. Also, in turn, just shares a bit of love between your brand and the consumer and keeps that relationship going.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you both so much. I think we've got 10 minutes, just under 10 minutes for questions. And actually, Gav, you mentioned retention. One of the questions that I've seen is how important is customer feedback when it comes to retention? So I think you sort of answered that one there, but maybe you want to elaborate a bit on that.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's the customer feedback's just like a gold mine for e-commerce managers, isn't it? It gives them the opportunity. In the old days, you'd go out and you'd have to do surveys and engage with the customers. They come to you now. They're keen to give you their feedback. And as long as you appropriately engage with that feedback, and if it's good or bad, thank that client in terms of taking action on it or encouraging them to buy more with incentives, etc. It can only be a good thing for a brand.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So another question we've got here is, what should you be looking for when looking at a third-party search like Clevu? Phil, I think you sort of maybe answered that earlier, but if you wanted to answer it a bit more.
Well, yeah, I mean, I gave the reasons that we specifically wanted an expert partner when we launched Shopify. I mean, for anybody attending the webinar who's thinking, well, do I really need to get into that space? I suppose my advice would be look really carefully at the terms that your customers are currently searching. If you have a website at the moment, I guess most people on the call will, unless they're looking to enter into it for the first time. But if you already have a site and customers are searching, and whatever solution you have allows you to review all of those searches, that will give you a really good indication as to what it is you need to service through that search. Because you could buy the greatest search tool in the world, but if you're selling tomatoes and all anybody ever searches for is tomatoes, then there's not much point in paying for a more sophisticated solution. So, yeah, I mean, definitely look at your current search terms, look at your competitors, who you rate, whilst also bearing in mind that just because your competitors are doing something, it doesn't mean they're doing the right thing. Yeah. That's where your testing comes in. I mean, with Shopify, you can try all sorts of alternatives pretty rapidly and at pretty low cost. So once you've established what you think you need, looking for the right partner is a lot less painful than it might be for some other platforms or areas of your business where you need to enter into a long-term contract, etc. So I guess that would be my advice. Be really sure what it is that you want out of it. A site like Built With, you can look at all your competitors and see what their stack looks like, what they're using, and then you can home in on the solutions that they are using and see everybody else that's using it. Really useful tool. So yeah, have a good look around, know what you want out of it, and try stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's great advice. Cool. So another question we got here is for you, Phil. The thought of losing all the organic juice in transferring to a new website platform is scary. Is specialist advice here vital?
Yeah, I mean that's a big yes, of course. We have a lot of SEO expertise in house. We also work with agencies to help us with that. It's a whole discipline. All of its own and absolutely essential, especially as budgets get squeezed in recessions or cost of living crises. etc., you need experts at the front end of your funnel. Unless you are already an expert, you will definitely need to engage one. You might think you're doing well, but there's so much opportunity in that space. You need someone who really knows what they're doing.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. I mean, just quickly to add to that, it's an essential stream in a migration project. You've absolutely got to be looking at where your website sits right now before the migration, and then have a clear plan from your agency for what they're going to do to kind of ensure it's still there at the other side of that process. So yeah, totally agree.
Cool. Well, I think this might be one for you. Actually, no, Gav, I think maybe one for you. Do you co-create roadmaps and project plans with Velstar? How is this managed?
Yeah. So we do. So we speak to Phil and his team on a weekly basis for day-to-day activity, and all of that is tracked in your own ticketing system, Phil, and we'll manage it from there. And then I normally come down. It would be nice. You should come up and see us sometime, Phil. But
I know.
I've been down to you the last couple of times, haven't I? On a quarterly basis.
He's called me out in public there. Did you see that?
I know you want to come up to Liverpool, so it's probably a bit of a plug for you, isn't it? So we meet up on a quarterly basis and I see that as a kind of big picture thinking. So we talk about the big themes that are impacting not only what we're doing in development that's upcoming in Shopify, but probably most importantly, what's going on in Avon. Where do they need us to kind of fill gaps? Where indeed are there problems in what we're doing? And how we can kind of solve them going forwards for Avon too. And then we'll pull all that together into, largely, again, it breaks down into tickets, doesn't it, really? It's key actions that we'll take forward over the coming quarter and beyond. That's it from my perspective. I don't know if you've got anything different to say on that one, Phil.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have our strategic goals as a company as a whole, and they will dictate to some extent what it is that we want to do with the D2C sites. But of course, as a UK digital function, we have certain things that we want to test and try and take advantage of, trends that matter to D2C commerce that don't necessarily matter to the business as a whole. We'll take those to Velstar, and they'll always contribute the trends that they're seeing in the marketplace, and what else they feel we could be doing with the site. But it's often the case that because our overall business model is quite unique and complex, there might be things that we wouldn't want to do with our D2C site that you might think is a given. If you were just to look through and say, why don't you do X? Why don't you do Y? Well, the answer might be because we cover off that for our customers through our rep model, and therefore we'll concentrate on other priorities for our D2C model.
Perfect. So we've got 1 more minute left. So I think just one more question. I think we're going to make it quite quick, but I think it should be quite an easy one. Did you launch with Clevu, Phil, or was this a later development?
Yeah, I'm going to give a really unhelpful answer and say I think we might have done, but we might not have done. I mean, I joined shortly after launch and it was already there. So I'm sorry, I don't know the answer. I'm looking in the chat actually. That's from Ian. Sorry, Ian, I can't give that answer, but we definitely had them shortly after launch, if not for launch. I mean, I don't mind whizzing through because I've been watching a few of these come up and haven't been able to answer them to date because we can always
follow up after the webinar, I think.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah. I mean, anyone who's taken the trouble to put a question in the chat will follow up with you. Yeah. So.
Perfect. Well, thank you both so much. That was super interesting.
Pleasure. No worries.
Great. Yeah. Lovely to see you all as always.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much and speak to you again soon.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.